I'm Joe Clark. I joined the Orient Line in 1954 and my first ship was the Oriana. During my time at sea, I witnessed the cooperation, the merger and the final acquisition of the Orient Line by P&O. So let me tell you a little bit about it. In 1917, the P&O acquired the majority shareholding in the Orient Line. After the Second World War, they cooperated with 2 weekly sailings to and from Australia. Then in 1953, the Union steamships Oronsay sailed for the last time from Vancouver to Sydney, thus leaving a void in the market, which the Orient Line filled in 1954 with the sailing of Oronsay from Sydney to Auckland, Suva, Honolulu, Vancouver and San Francisco and back again to Sydney. In 1957, the P&O augmented this service and it became known as the Pacific and Orient Line. Then in 1959, the P&O bought most of the remainder of the Orient Line shares and the line became known as the P&O Orient Line. In 1966, this name was also dropped and the ships of the Orient Line painted white. The remaining ships were Orcades, Oronsay, Orsova and Oriana. This film shows some of the ships at that time. It was filmed by amateurs, seamen, passengers, some tugmasters and onlookers. So what I'm going to suggest to you is that you sit down and watch the film, very little of which has ever been seen before. I hope you enjoy it. Start the film in Hong Kong, where Arcadia is about to depart on a Pacific voyage under the banner of the Orient Pacific Line. The next clip shows Oronsay, now owned by P&O Orient Lines, but still in its original Orient Line colours, transferring a stowaway to Arcadia. The captain and deputy captain watch proceedings. I'm sorry, but we can't allow any visitors to the bridge just at this moment. And the stowaway, together with his baggage, is safely transferred. The assistant surgeon and one of the nursing sisters watch as Oronsay steams slowly away. We will now watch as Orcades in her new white colours enters Tilbury Docks. The railway bridge rises to let her into the docks. Safely through, she moves to her berth behind the Himalaya. We revert to Oronsay again now, which has also been painted white. She's leaving a Japanese port on a far east run. We have a chance to look around the ship. In Hong Kong, there's a fire in her number 3 hold. It's certainly hot work, but the fire is quickly brought under control. The next sequence shows Oronsay in a German port about to sail on a Canaries cruise. Here we see her in Lanzarote. Another shot of Oronsay in Southampton. And here she's seen at anchor in Alaskan waters. Bertha French is going ashore. We'll leave Oronsay in Alaskan waters and move on to Orsova. Orsova is leaving Ocean Terminal in Southampton, bound for the northern capitals. Baggage is being loaded on the stadium deck. Once again we have the chance to have a good look around before the ship sails. Once out at sea, the crew exercise at lifeboat drill. They're testing the motor on this lifeboat. Here, Orsova is berthed in Copenhagen. Our final look at Orsova is as she enters Southampton docks. You will see on the other side the Iberia. The tug Calshot pushes her into her berth. And now it's time for the luggage to come off once again. We joined the Oriana in the King George V dry dock in Southampton. Having moved out of the dry dock, we see Oriana a day or two before she sails. The ship ahead of her in this sequence is the Val. We now have the opportunity to go on board and have a look around before she embarks her passengers later in the day. We continue our tour of the public rooms. There are still a lot of stores to get on board. Gradually, everything is cleared away and she's ready to accept her passengers. Shortly before sailing, the passengers line the rails and we'll be able to watch from the ship and the shore as she sails. This young man is trying to grab as many of the streamers as he can. The excitement grows as the gangways are lowered. The ropes are hauled in one by one. The tug now takes the strain and moves Oriana out of the docks and into Southampton water. The streamers have parted and the onlookers wave goodbye. We can watch as Calshot goes out to her to take off some of the officials. A final wave as she moves slowly down towards the open seas. The crew exercise the lifeboat drill, lowering the boats. Meanwhile, the passengers relax and get used to their new surroundings. A day or two out, and everybody's relaxing in their own particular way. It's already warm enough for swimming. The officers take on the passengers at a cricket match. We get a good view of smooth water ahead from the bridge. It takes just over 3 weeks to get to Sydney. Here we see Oriana underneath the harbour bridge. It's not long before it's time for sailing again. There'll be some new passengers on board as Oriana now prepares to leave Sydney. Here we see her at anchor off some Pacific island as the passengers go ashore by boat. From Arcadia we see Oriana tied up in Suva. Oriana passes under the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. And now we see her entering the Miraflores locks to go through the Panama Canal. These men in little boats will pass the lines to the mules, which will steady the ship as she proceeds under her own power through the canal. Oriana is now leaving the Miraflores locks. Just watch as her superstructure passes the edge of the lock station. There'll be plenty of scenery to watch and other ships coming in and out of the locks, as well as those that we shall pass in the legs. We're now approaching the Cathay lock on our way out into the Atlantic Ocean. As we sail out of the Caribbean and into the Atlantic proper, we're greeted by some very rough seas. 2 or 3 days later we arrive in Madeira. Once again the sea is tranquil and the sun is shining. We now have the chance to watch Oriana at the end of her round-the-world trip as she approaches Southampton. a long sequence, but it catches the elegance of a lost era. These ships were built to carry passengers to all corners of the earth. They switched to cruising in their old age. A large number of purposely built ships have been constructed since. Of those who like to combine travel with holiday. The sun begins to set as she moves up towards the port of Southampton. She passes other ships on their way out. We get a quick glimpse of the Strathmore and the Stratheden, laid up at Eleusis. They were later scrapped in La Spezia. Chitral is seen here at a port in the Far East from the bow of her sister ship Cathay. The sequence continues as Cathay leaves harbour. Those in the forecastle party look over towards Chitral as they pass. We now switch to Cathay, seen here in a Mediterranean port. Here we watch from the bridge as Cathay struggles in some very high seas. Cathay passes a lovely old steam trawler. Some of the deck crew practiced man overboard drill. The scenes that follow show a fly-past and later a frigate whose crew are cheering Admiral Sir Verrill Begg, the C&C Far East, who was retiring and returning to the United Kingdom in Cathay. The frigate is a Leander class, the Euryalus. As she passes close by, the crew will give 3 cheers. When the ship stops in Manila, the passengers and crew are entertained by a troupe of Philippine dancers. The future generation practice their steps. We leave Cathay as the sun goes down in the west. Chusan is sighted from the bridge of Cathay. We see Chusan again in Sydney Harbour, passing the still unfinished Opera House. Arcadia is seen leaving Pyrmont in Sydney Harbour. We watch from on board as she goes under the Sydney Harbour Bridge. You will see that the Canberra occupies the prime berth at Circular Quay. Here we see Arcadia at anchor, taking on water from a water hoist. And here she is sailing past. These shots of Arcadia were taken in Hong Kong Harbour. Here she is leaving Suva in Fiji. It takes several tugs to push her into the wharf in Piraeus. car is unloaded in Southampton docks from Arcadia. Without an airstrip at that time, the Cocos-Keeling Islanders depended on ships of the Orient Line and P&O to deliver their mail by canisters dropped into the sea and picked up by the locals in canoes. We switch to Arcadia's sister ship, the Iberia. She's seen here passing Arcadia. This lovely ship is seen here, framed beautifully by the open doors of Arcadia's bridge. The last of our film clips are of Canberra. Here she's seen leaving Southampton. We now see her at Circular Quay in Sydney. We trust you have enjoyed these various sequences of the lovely old liners taken by so many of our friends and colleagues in the 50s and 60s.